Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The world is staring at the $620 billion of semiconductor chokehold.
India is emerging as a major, very trusted supply chain partner for chips.
And Xi Jinping's latest tech retaliation may quietly shift the balance of the global IT power straight towards India.
India wants to be a semiconductor powerhouse. By 2029, India wants to be among the world's top 5 chip producers.
In the last 90 days, Beijing has tightened the export controls on the critical semiconductor materials, especially in the gallium, germanium, graphite, and the high-end lithographic components. There are the backbones on the world's AI server, 5G equipments, and the enterprise compute systems. Xi Jinping's Politburo meeting on the 14th October 2025 made it official China will prioritize the domestic chips and ensure foreign dependency is minimized.
China still decide which companies can export and to whom.
Rare earths go into everything. The magnets go into iPhones, industrial applications, defense applications. And for Tesla's future growth,
any political or military tension can trigger renewed delays or rejections.
Global companies depending on China will face the delays, shortages, cost spikes, and supply chain paralysis. The global exposure to the Chinese chip material is valued at $620 billion according to the Semiconductor Industry Association and the Morgan Stanley September 2025 estimation.
China.
This is not a small disruption. This is a full-blown shock to the semiconductor, cloud, telecom, and AI ecosystems. And the first ripple is already visible. US tech chains like Cisco, Dell, Amazon Web Services, and Nvidia reported the supply chain warning tied to the China's export control. European telcos, especially in the Germany, Netherlands, France, flagged a delay in the 5G equipment's deliveries. So, where does India enter the picture? Because if China weaponizes the chip supply chain, global enterprise will look the only large-scale, politically stable, talent-rich alternative for the cloud managed services, AI operations, 5G softwares, and the enterprise compute migration. India is the best alternative. And here is the part nobody is saying openly. Companies like TCS, Infosys, and the Reliance Jio Platforms are being quietly approaching the multi-year high-valued contracts already, especially for the cloud decoupling, AI workflow migrations, chiplet architectures, and the China-free supply chain redesign. In other words, Xi Jinping's crackdown may trigger the biggest IT power shift India has seen in the 20 years. Not because India planned it, but because the world suddenly needs a nation that's not China, not expensive like US and Europe, and not geopolitically unpredictable. Let's unpack the mechanics how the China chips sequence translate into the business opportunity for Indian IT firms. First, the raw material choke. China has used the export control on the gallium, germanium, antimony, and the other dual material before the December 2024, and has repeatedly tightened the licensing and approval through the 2025, producing real downstream shortages for the wafer fabs and the packaging lines. Industry monitors flagged the risk throughout the 2025. Second, the export control shocks radiates fast. When chip inputs are constrained, OEMs delay server building on the teleco kit shipment. Cloud providers want a long-time procurement and the longer lead times, and the hyperscaler pass large GPU buys that force the customers to rethink where they host the AI workload. We already saw the supply chain alert and the geo-specific chip policy moves in the late 2025. Third, capital reroutes. Global buyers who can't rely on the China or who fears on the US-China sanctions start to look for the natural, scalable, low-cost execution hub, the deep engineering talents, and India checked those boxes. Scales for engineers, English language, mature GCC models, are now raising the data center investment pipelines. Recent announcements underlying the shift, Reliance Digital Connection JV with the Brookfield and the Digital Reality committed multi-million dollars of a national data capacity in Visakhapatnam, and other firms like TCS, private equity partners are accelerating AIDC investments in India. Fourth, strategic decoupling creates the business windows in Indian IT majors. TCS, Infosys, Reliance Jio Platforms are not just outsourcing vendors. They are being eyed for the compute migration, sovereign stack builds, and the China-free system integrations. Procurement teams in the US and Europe prefer the vendors who can guarantee the non-China supply chains, the local compute regions. And Indian firms can offer that assurance more credibility than many Western countries. Multi-clients, RFPs and VC briefings this quarter confirm the rise in the China-free procurement ask. Fifth, timing matters. Even if Beijing softened the rules intermediately, we have seen the pauses throughout the late 2025, the market's relocation is structural. Buyers will diversify the suppliers and buy compute capacity in the geopolitically stable locations. This structural relocation, not a brief spike. It's a generator of multi-years of contracts opportunity worth billions of dollar execution platforms. Bottom lines of this year, export controls, procurement delays, trust gaps, compute migrations, premium contracts from the trusted execution partners. India sits at the center of the pipeline, but capturing its requirements, fast move on the data centers, supply chain guarantees, and the China pre-proofs, which some Indian firms are already building today. So, ladies and gentlemen, if Xi Jinping's $620 billion of chip squeeze is rewriting the global technology supply chain, the question is simple. What does the Indian companies and IT leaders do right now before the windows close? Global CEOs want one line. Can you give us a China-free supply chain guarantee? Indian firms must package new service around the China-free cloud migrations, sovereign AI stack redesign, non-Chinese network and the infra components, verified supply chain certifications. The deals will not go to the firm with the capability. This will go to the firm with the capacity. This means a strategic partnership with Reliance Digital Connections, Adani Connection S, Visakhapatnam Mega DC plants, Yota, Control S, and everything. You must build AI-ready, GPU-ready, and sovereign-ready regions inside India to capture the migration waves. The chip shortage are forcing the enterprises to rebalance workload from the GPU-heavy to CPU efficiency to hybrid edges. Indian IT firms must offer the squad that can rewrite AI pipeline, re-architect the model sequence, and optimize inference cost, build hybrid AI cloud. This is where the TCS, Infosys, and the Jio have the one-in-a-decade opportunity. In today's fractured geopolitical companies don't just need a technology. They need a nation that is stable, democratic, natural, talent-rich, and geopolitically acceptable. Your proposal to US, Europe, and the Japan clients may explicitly say India is your natural execution partner in the polarized tech world. Because here's the truth. If the US can't trust China and the China can't trust US, the world needs someone it can trust. It's where the India step in. It's not just by accident, but by strategic inevitability. And if Indian IT firms do not seize this moment, global competitors, Korean, Japanese, even the Middle East firms will occupy the strategy space meant for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, Xi Jinping may have triggered the chip crackdown, but the world may remember this movement are the catalyst that pushed the India into the biggest IT power shift in the 20 years. If you want a one-page China-free compute strategy scorecard for your board, come on Compute Shift and I'll pin it for you. And subscribe because next week we'll decode how global companies are rewriting the contracts to avoid the China entries.